Hey Donald, here are the basic steps to graph the function you asked via email. So, because you technically have an x to the third and there's no negatives in front of it, it's going to behave the same as an x to the third. So, meaning its reference point, it's going to be the origin. In this case, that's going to be 0, 0. And then as you go to the right, and the question you asked is points on the right hand side. And once again, this is as long as there's no negatives in front of it. So any point that you pick on the right, it's always going to be positive or it's going to get very large. For instance, if you were to pick 1 and you evaluate it 1 to the third power, your y value is going to be 1. So any point greater than 0, it's going to go to the right hand side. For instance, if you were to pick 2, comma, 2 to the third on the parent graph, it's going to be 8. So that's a point there. And then negatives, if you were to pick -1, in this case, -1 to the third, since you multiply -1 3 times, this is going to give you a -1. So any graph that happens to have an x to the third power as the main part of the function, it's going to have the same behavior, meaning on points greater than in this case, the center, it's always going to go up to infinity and then go in the other direction. Now, a single negative is going to switch the graph, as you can see here. But that's not the situation that we have. On the question that you asked, you technically have a slightly modification of the function. And in this case, you technically have an x plus 4 to the third power minus 2. Now, in this case, what we used to have at 0, 0, it's basically moved to whatever value makes this 0, and then that's your y value. So in this case, only -4, comma 0. So the new point, or the point that we used to have at 0, 0 on the parent graph, it's now -2, 0. Now, any other point after that, it's going to have the same behavior, meaning points to the right are going to increase, and it's just going to have this curvature that I'm showing here as the parent graph, provided that there are no negatives. And then what used to go to the left is now going to go to the left, but at a different scale, since you have a minor modification of x plus 4 to the third minus 2. So they're going to behave, these two are going to behave exactly the same, provided that there's no negatives. Now, if there's a negative, let's say that you had a negative there, in that case, it's going to have the same behavior as at x to the third, but with a negative in front. So you're always looking at which one of the parent graphs looks like it, the closest, and then from there, you basically match it. I only want one coordinate point. So for instance, for this particular one, let me remove everything that I had before. The only thing I need, like on the final exam, is the reference point. And then from there, since you're doing a hand sketch, you're just giving me the basic shape, meaning it does a curvature to the right and to the left. Don't forget the arrows because the actual curves go on to infinity. I hope this helps.